Welcome to the Braddog Media Show with your host, Rikki Hernandez.
What's going on, guys? Brady Hester here, host of the Braddog Media Show. Today we're welcomed by Rikki Hernandez. This is a guy who's behind the camera of a lot of big names in the fitness industry. Scott Herman being one of the bigger names that a lot of people have heard of. It was super cool to hear about the backstory of how he helps these guys and growing their brands, but also then making a name for himself within that fitness circle. He's a guy that grew up not even into fitness necessarily himself, but then found a passion for it later on, and now he has a really huge career within that space, and it was really fascinating to hear how he came about that. And like always, if you're enjoying this podcast, please leave me a comment, a like, and if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate that as well. Enough from me. Welcome to the show. Today I'm joined by the man, Rikki Hernandez. What's going on, Rikki?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. It's an honor. Looking forward to this. I've been bragging about it to everybody.
Really?
I'm going to do a podcast on Saturday with Brad. It's the best.
Yes, man. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. You're a fitness guy, fitness is a big hobby of mine. Growing up playing competitive sports, I really latched onto the fitness and workouts more than anything. And eventually that became, a big passion of mine. So have you always been into fitness as well, just growing up?
You know what, man? Growing up, I wasn't at all. I was actually really overweight. I shared on my story every now and again just to kind of show the progression of how I got into fitness. But growing up, I come from a Spanish background, man. So food is the top priority when it comes to everyday things. And I just never learned portion control. My family we would eat out and just that was our time together, around food and other events and stuff like that. So growing up, I was pretty overweight. I mean, I was in high school, I was 5'4", 200 pounds, very unhealthy.
No way.
Yeah, man. I'll show you pictures, but I was very overweight. And, little by little, I started getting my group of friends, and they were very active. My best friend, Johnny, super active. They would play football. So eventually I started joining in. I didn't know a damn thing about football, but I was I want to hang out with my friends. It looks fun. So I got into football and started learning the ropes, and my friends were like, hey, dude, you should join the football team. Why not? So I did football for about a year. I was a guard, the worst football player ever. Just was not I'm not good at sports. It's unfortunate, but I can pick up heavy shit and put it down. So I learned how to play football. Yeah, I learned how to play football. I ended up losing a ton of weight in high school. So from my sophomore to junior year, I lost roughly 60, 80 pounds or so. Now, one of the biggest things was that I lost all that weight, but I never learned how to eat properly. I didn't learn how to train. It was just a matter of you're young, you're working out, you're doing stuff. And I remember at one point, I'm I'm not going to eat bread. Carbs are bad. I'm not going to eat bread at all. And I got all the way down to 130. So if you look at pictures, I went from being a very big kid to a very skinny kid. I watched Pumping Iron, the legendary documentary. I'm I want to do that. I want to be a bodybuilder. And honestly, man, it's just been this from that moment on, fitness was just integrated into my lifestyle. I've always been working out. And I just never really looked back. I got into competitive bodybuilding for a while, powerlifting. And I mean, like you said, it's a lifestyle. It's one of those things that as soon as you pick up consistency and you dive into the world of it, you become immersed and you're yep, this is what I want to do. Your gym time is your therapy time. You hang out in there, you get some weights in. And the community is just really cool, man. You build a great community of fitness enthusiasts too. So that's pretty much my background. A lot of people don't believe that I was overweight, but yeah, man.
That's crazy, man. I don't think I've seen a picture of you from high school, but man, you made that swing. So from overweight to 130, that's skinny, man.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing. I mean, and I'm sure you've heard about it as well. It's a lot of people, there's always an extreme to fitness. There can be. Whether it's being overweight to really skinny to no steroid use to a lot of steroid use, there's just so much going on in fitness that I feel there is always that extreme from one to the other. And it took me a long time to find that happy medium, man. What about you though? Did you ever find yourself in that extreme, or how did fitness jump into your lifestyle?
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. I haven't ever really talked about this, I guess. So,
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I played competitive sports, and man, from the first time coaches had me doing push-ups, I was hooked. 12 years old,
Yeah.
like, okay, man, all right, chest is going a little bit, let's go. Um, Man, so for the most part, I was always lean, but in college, as soon as I was done with sports, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna bulk up now. So, in high school, I was always around like 170, and I bulked up to 230, about 5'10. And
Yeah.
man, I did not like how it looked. And
Yeah.
I felt like so unathletic and slow after like all those years of being fast and athletic growing up. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
forget this. So I got back down to like the 180s, and I've been there ever since. So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
it's exactly what I'm saying though. Like you reach, I've gone through that point too, like especially in bodybuilding, man. I mean, you're so concerned about putting on muscle and making sure that when you do cut weight, you look better. Like your body reaches a point where, I mean, I'm 5'8", so I'm just a tad bit shorter than you. And I weighed, the most I've ever weighed was about 195. And you reach a point where you put on all that weight and your body just does not feel good.
No.
At 195, like I would start heavy breathing going up a flight of stairs, and I'm like, this is not good. And it feels great because you can lift heavy and you feel powerful, but just like for everyday life, you realize like, nope, this is not it, chief. Like I cannot maintain this. But that's cool, man. It's cool to hear that you kind of maintained it, especially that it started out early too in school, because I can definitely agree with that. It's having that coach, like that drive of somebody telling you like, you need to get this shit done, that you're like, okay. And I feel like that's what develops like healthier habits in the gym too, like having that coach, having somebody to kind of push you along, because that kind of builds self-motivation at the very end too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think it's tough to find your limits and how far you can push yourself without having a coach growing up.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know how I would have ever figured it out, and like how far I can go without somebody pushing me and, finding that point.
Okay.
Did you kind of have the same experience with football and that kind of teach you like, oh, I can push my body a little further than I thought?
Man, you know what? Not really. Like my football experience was a little weird, just because I've always been. People don't believe this either, but I've always been kind of a shy kid. Like I'm very to myself. I'm very shy, which people don't believe because they're like, well, you're on social media talking to your phone all the time, and I'm like, no, trust me. Like I'm shy and insecure. Like it's in here. But growing up, when I was in football, a lot of the kids were way more athletic than I was. They were a lot stronger. They also knew what the sport was about. And I was born in Venezuela and moved here in 2001. So I didn't watch football growing up. I didn't. Like, it just wasn't my thing. I didn't watch football until I started playing it just to understand it. But when I was in football, the coaches would pick the best guys, because I went to Cypress Creek High School here in Orlando, and we had the shittiest team. So they made sure to like give the most attention to like the best guys, and a newbie coming in, like it wasn't a priority. So I learned a lot from just watching and like engaging with the other guys. The importance of a coach didn't come into play for me until I wanted to start bodybuilding, because for so many years I'm like, I would call myself a bodybuilder. I'm a bodybuilder, blah, 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 but I never stepped on stage. So I'm like, well, I need to change that. Like I can't be a bodybuilder and not do the damn thing. So I hired my coach, Paul Ravella, in 2016. And that's what showed me the importance of a coach. And not just to have somebody who motivates you, but just having that accountability. Like that is the most important thing. And I tell people all the time, like, listen, you can learn how to work out on YouTube. Like there's tons of free information nowadays. It's fantastic. But there's an important side to having a coach for the accountability side of things. Because, I mean, I'm sure you can relate. There's days where you just don't want to fucking do it. Like, I just don't want to work out. I don't want to not have enough calories to feel good. And that coach sits down and he's like, hey, man, like, do you want to win this show or not? And that's what I've had my coach do. Like, I was doing CrossFit, and he's like, listen, bro, like, do you want to be a CrossFitter or a bodybuilder? Like, pick. And I'm like, okay. I was like, fair enough. You got me. But yeah, man, I recommend the coach. I mean, I was a personal trainer for a while too. So I've had over 100 clients, and having those clients have taught me like, hey, there's an important side to having a coach for like the mental side of things. You almost become like a therapist in a way. Like not only are you teaching them how to work out and eat better, but keeping that like right mental state for fitness, which is, I feel like, something that people don't talk about a lot, like the mental stuff. And I'm not sure if you went through that in college, because I feel like that's kind of like that experimental phase,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There've definitely been, stretches of being into it and not. And man, that's when the dedication comes in, and the motivation lacks. You just have to stick to it like it's a job,
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. I'm going through that now. Like I'm not very active on my social media accounts right now on as far as like fitness stuff goes. Just because I kind of reached the point where I'm not competing for anything. I don't have any powerlifting meets or bodybuilding meets, mostly due to COVID because everything kind of got shut down. So I was prepping for a show earlier this year, and as soon as it got canceled, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna kill myself to wait a whole another year. I'm like, screw it. But yeah, man, right now I'm kind of like in this fitness rut myself where I just kind of want to work out just to work out. Like if I miss a day, cool. If I want to go and have a cheesecake, then I'll go and have a cheesecake. Like I feel like it's one of those things that it's healthy, and as long as you're aware of what's happening, I feel like you're more in control, because I could easily go and like just start eating like shit and not work out at all. But it's a matter of like, I'm not feeling it, but like, let me get in the gym. Like, let me go get a workout in. Let me go enjoy that cheesecake or whatever I want. Like, what does your diet look like, by the way? Because that's like one of the things that I'm always curious about. I'm like, what's your eating look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, moderation is a big thing for me. I'm not super restrictive as far as types of foods. I know for me, like a little more toward the keto side always makes me look and feel better. I don't go no carbs, but definitely having some more fats. And, especially like with breakfast, a lot of times I'll skip the bread and just do like, eggs and sausage and those types of things. And that's generally when I feel best. But I mean, if I keep it moderate and, work out consistently, I don't have to watch too much. I'm pretty lucky. I have fast metabolism, so.
Yeah, dude. And that's honestly the best, though. Like, it's so good to be in that space. I think something that kind of screwed me up over the years was tracking calories so much, like to a T. Like, man, if you go back to my Fitness Pal, I had a score of like, it gives you how many days you've tracked. Dude, I had tracked consecutively for 4 years. Like, I broke it like this year. Yeah, this year I was like, I'm not going to track. Screw it. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I mean, if you want to be a bodybuilder and you have those goals, then yeah, you do have to be that specific. But in like your scenario where you're just kind of being able to eat what you want, getting a workout in, like feeling good, like that's such a good place to be in, man. And it's taken me a long time to get to that place myself, which I feel like it's surprising to some people, because they're like, well, you work out and like, how could you not? And I'm like, it's hard, like for so many years I was tracking calories. So like, I look at a plate of food and I see numbers. I don't even see, like, you can give me rice, chicken, and broccoli, and I'm like, ooh, 45 grams of protein, like 65 grams of carbs, like maybe like give or take 10 fat. Like I look at it as numbers. So it's cool to be in a place where you're just like, I'll eat, I'll work out as I please, like build a healthy lifestyle around it. And I feel like that's where fitness gets like tricky for some people. It's like, you want to work out, but then it can become an healthy habit, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of bodybuilding, they're kind of the poster children of health, but the reality is it's not really the case a lot of times. The extremes, it's hard to actually be healthy.
Oh yeah, man.
And
look at Dallas McCarver. There was a young bodybuilder. I think he was like 21 or 22. Like I got to meet him in person at the Gold's Gym that's down here, and like Dallas McCarver, I think is like 5'10". He's like close to our height, and I think that man weighed like close to 300 pounds. And it's just like
enormous. Yeah,
like you just can't move that way. Like it's just not healthy for you. Or like Rich Piana, who would talk about it all the time. Like such a great dude, like such a cool dude, but all these unhealthy habits like build up. And although he's muscular and he can lift heavy stuff, like it's just not healthy. And like that's the kind of message that I think needs to be spread more. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that we've done with Scott with the whole TRT thing. Like these like younger kids just want to look really good for Instagram. They want to get the follows, the likes, and they do all these things early on, not realizing that, hey man, like 10 years from now, you're not going to be doing so hot, No,
it's crazy, man. It can be a dangerous world. And if you could, I'd love for you to name drop some of the big names you work with, but then I'm also curious about what all you've learned from them, when it comes to the business and business side, because
of course, man,
you're around some great people, and I'm sure, they've been a good influence on you as far as, growing your business, but then also on the fitness side. So I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. So I'm glad you said that. I was actually just talking to my girlfriend, Lexi, about it last night, just about, how I'm extremely lucky. I'm extremely blessed to just be around so many great people, not only in business, but in fitness. So one of the first persons that I worked with is Scott Herman Fitness, 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Like, this guy's been around for over 10 years on YouTube. YouTube videos teaching you literally how to do almost any exercise in the world. He has a video, and some of his early stuff has insane views, like 40 million views, 20 million views, like how to do a push-up. And like, you'll see him at like 25 doing push-ups. It's just a video that continues to grow. But man, you know what? Something that I've learned about Scott is, number one, he's very business savvy. Like, over 10 years, he's been able to build so many connections. And one of the things that I took away from that is, in order to network with somebody and build those connections, you have to go in it with the thought process of just wanting to get to know somebody. And that's what I tell people. And it's exactly how him and I got to working together. I mean, he walked into a Louis Vuitton and I sold him a bag. And by that interaction, I asked him like, hey, what do you do? And he told me that he did YouTube. And I told him that I've never watched this stuff. And he was like, there's no way. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know who you are, my man. Like, it doesn't matter. Then I went home and looked it up and I'm like, oh shit, this guy's like pretty big.
Big deal.
But just like that interaction, and I, not once did I ever tell Scott like, oh, hey man, like, can you leave me a shout out on your Instagram? Or like, oh, hey dude, like, let me film a YouTube video for you. Like, it was always just a genuine connection. Like, I had met him. He had just moved from Boston. He didn't know anybody in Orlando. I was like, hey dude, if you ever just want to like catch a lift at the gym or whatever, like, let me know. Cause at the time I was working at Louis Vuitton in the gym. And one day I invited him to the gym. He actually filmed a video in the gym and we got to talking from there, like literally just phone calls, which to some people who have watched this stuff for years, they're like, holy shit, like you get to talk to Scott Herman, but I don't see him in the light of Scott Herman Fitness. Like, I just see him as Scott, like my friend. I go over to his house, we film. So that was something that I learned from him. And that's how he's built his business to where he is now, just being a kind dude, very genuine, being able to build connections and networking with people without the intention of getting something out of it. And I think that's huge for everybody trying to grow on social media. Like, create content that inspires people, that motivates people, and don't necessarily feel like you have to talk to these big names and try and like jump that line where you just want to get right into business. Like, talk to people, network, connect with them. The next big name that I worked with is Adam Ivy, big in the music world, big in the marketing world as well. Something that I've learned from Adam is just structure. Like, that man's structure is insane. Like, not even from just like a business money-making kind of view, but it's just from like the way that he does everything, like down to editing videos, to having an intro, to having the thumbnail. Like, in the work that you and I do, having structure is so important because you can become so disorganized as a content creator very fast. Like, you can have like 3 podcasts lined up and you're like, shit, I forgot to get a thumbnail. I forgot to grab like a couple clips for Instagram, like all these little details. And over the last couple of years, like, he's been able to build up to where he is now by just having this crazy organization, on everything that he does. The YouTube videos, the lighting is perfect. We got to make sure that he does it all in one take. Like, he just spews this information out. And I'm like, how the hell do you do this without messing up at least once? So him having great structure. And then honestly, the other guys, like, they're not necessarily huge names in their fields, but everything that I've learned from just being a content creator to doing video editing on YouTube is just kind of, like I said earlier, like keeping that momentum, keeping that organization, and also like not losing yourself in all of it. I think a lot of the times in content creation, like, you start reaching a level where you see things kind of stacking up, and like, I feel like sometimes your ego can get kind of big, and like, you feel like you're hot shit, not realizing that at any moment, like, this can all crash. Like, what if one day Scott could call me up and be like, hey man, like, I'm moving, or I don't need help anymore. Like, it is what it is. So just making sure that you're constantly being genuine, that you're constantly creating and always trying to improve, and just trying to offer as much as you can to people. That's what I try to do on Instagram. I keep it lighthearted. I keep it really fun. I sit in my car and I talk to my phone just to create conversations and engaging. Because at the end of the day, the people who are helping you build up your business, are the ones that honestly deserve your most attention, like always, you know? So that's pretty much like what I've learned over the last 2 years of video editing with Scott, Adam, Nick Poulos, Nina Silic. I've filmed music videos with Chino Marin from Lone Wolf. Like, I could go on. Like, I have so many cool people and cool names, and I just never thought I'd get here. I remember, fun side story, I remember seeing Nick Poulos at the gym back in 2016, and I was like, fuck, that guy's huge. Like, he looks so awesome. And then here I am, like, 4 years, almost 5 years later, like, filming for him. And, like, it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, holy shit. Like, how'd I get here? It blows my mind, man. But, yeah, that's what I've learned, man.
Dang, so many great lessons.
Honestly, man, you just continue. You continue to learn, and it's just like, it's trial and error too, you know. I tell a lot of the times, like, people watch the videos that we put out and they're like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, man, I've filmed for Scott before and not turned on the mic. I've edited for Adam before and he just doesn't like it. Like, it's trial and error, and just making sure that you're aware, that you're not too hard on yourself, that you build a schedule that works for you. Like, there's so many little details, you know. It's almost like marketing. Like, a lot of people can think that marketing is like one thing, you know. They're like, oh, well, I just got to get good content on Instagram. That's marketing. And you're like, no, marketing is like knowing how to network. Marketing is knowing what kind of content to put out, how to build a story. Like, I'm sure you see it in your field.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are a million different aspects of it, you know, and it's put under one or in one box, right? But the reality is, it's all over the place. So
yeah, exactly. You know what I was going to ask you, as somebody, you know, you've had your podcast for quite a bit. What do you feel like are some of the things that people ask you when it comes to creating a podcast? Because I had one myself, and I'm on and off with it, you know, a lot of the times because of work. But what are like some of the tips that you usually give people when they ask you, you know, about podcasting, how to build it to the level where it's at for you?
Yeah, thanks, man. It's funny. I have been getting a lot of DMs recently, which is a sign to me that my content has been really improving, and that's always flattering. The biggest thing, which, you know, is kind of surprising, because I never really saw myself as a creative, you know, in recent, or, you know, growing up and then through college. It's a skill that I've tried to pick up, but, you know, marketing and more of the management strategy side has always been first. But I get so many DMs about my content. It's crazy. They're like, hey, wait, how'd you do this? Where'd you make this thumbnail? How'd you make this design? So it's been cool to actually show people, because, you know, I didn't grow up with necessarily a creative mind, but it's something, if you work hard enough and you consistently practice and try new things, you know, you can evolve and get those skills. So that's been a big one. Another one has been, you know, when it comes to networking and landing guests, you know, people ask me that all the time, and it's like, and then going back to what you're talking about earlier, it's like, man, so many guests I've brought on, it's just from talking with them and building up a relationship. And then it's like, hey, would you be interested in coming on the show? Case in point with you. I mean, you know, I just met you through Instagram, and, you know, we interacted and stuff. And, you know, you put out all kinds of cool content. Eventually I'm like, hey, you know, maybe you'd be interested in coming on the show. So
no, man, I appreciate it. Again, I'm super grateful. And I agree, man, your content, I mean, I'm not to sound like a fucking douchebag, but I'm like very picky with who I follow, just because, you know, you work with social media, and maybe you can relate, like, you work on social media. So it's like one of those things where you like to see certain stuff, and you know that if there's negativity on there, you don't want to see it. So over the last couple of years, before, I used to follow everybody back, because I was like, oh, screw it. Like, it's a platform. Like, you look like a cool person, cool content, whatever. But now I'm very selective. I'm like, you know what? Like, there's some things that I want to see on my feed. There's stuff that I don't want to see on my feed anymore, especially with like the way the world is now with like politics and all that. Like, if I jump on social, I want to jump on social to have a good time, to see my friends have a good time. So when I saw your content, I was like, oh, hell yeah, follow back. Like, that looks cool. Like, I love what you're doing. I love the way that you have everything set up, the variety of guests. And it goes back to what we were saying. Like, I think a lot of people see that stuff. Like, they see your content, they see what you're putting out, and in their head, they're like, oh, I can do that. I can do that easily. And then they jump on and they do it, and they don't realize these little missing pieces. And they're like, oh, well, what the hell? Like, Brad gets so-and-so on his podcast, and like this video and that video. Like, why can't I do it? But it's always cool getting those kind of questions too, because then you feel there's like this fulfillment from teaching somebody else how to do something, you know, like that's what I love about marketing. Like I love sitting down when I'm working with Adam and talking to students. It's like what seems obvious to you and I, because we're in the field, is not obvious to somebody else. So once you see that like click, you're like, oh shit, like
Yeah,
I
it's so
get
crazy,
it now.
right? Like, man, maybe I should give myself more props sometimes, because you think like, well, I do this stuff all the time. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But somebody else who's new to the, whatever space you're in, it's like mind blowing to them that you came up with this concept. So that's a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you know what, man, I feel like it's like a two-way street with that kind of stuff, you know, like I feel like a lot of people jump on with good intentions, but not enough patience. You know, I think a lot of people want to start a podcast. They want to get to the level where you're at now, but they don't see a following grow. They don't see people listening and all that stuff. And then they give up on it and they're like, oh, screw it. You know, and I'm guilty of that, man. I've had my Instagram for 10 years now. And just now it's starting to build up a little bit more. I'm starting to build a little bit more traction on it. But I definitely feel like it's a bit of instant gratification right now where we're at with social media, with YouTube. Like people want to put out content and they want it to just take off there. They want a viral video, a viral TikTok, like not realizing that the people who are viral now started on Vine like 5 years ago. And I'm just like, you have to wait. You have to trust the process. Like as soon as you lose it, it all falls down. Like as soon as you stop posting, as soon as you stop trying to be a creative and trying to create content with purpose, which like that's not necessarily needed. I mean, you have like people drinking juice on a skateboard, listening to Fleetwood Mac, and they go viral. So it doesn't have to be like super purposeful all the time, but the consistency and the patience, man, I think it's huge in the kind of work that we do. And if there's anything that anyone takes away from like just listening to even this podcast, like talking about like the marketing side of things, like patience. Like you have to have patience in this game. If you don't, you lose. Easily.
Yeah, totally. And you have to get the reps, because at first it's just going to suck. It's the way it is. So you have to get through it and gradually get better. I mean, people would be surprised at the posts I've archived and what those look like. You won't see them on my grid now, but they were there. Early 2019 posts were not, what they are now.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I archived a few of my old stuff too, like my fitness stuff that just like didn't make sense. Like I had really random videos and I'm just like, it is what it is. I mean, it's 50-50. Like some people don't archive stuff because they're like, oh, well, I want my fans, my followers, whatever we want to call them, to go down and like view my content. In my eyes, I'm like, I'd rather just kind of keep it all mainstream. If it doesn't have to do with fitness half the time, like depending on what it is, I'll post it up there, because I do feel like you always need that kind of personal element to social media to be more relatable and be able to connect with people. But yeah, man, some of my archive posts, the reason you haven't seen any of Fat Me is because I archived all of those.
Come on, bring it back.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely post one. I haven't posted one of those in a long time, like the side-by-side pictures.
Yeah, those are great, man.
Oh, yeah, man.
Which, it shows how far you've come. I mean, man, the amount of dedication to, and that's something I didn't really have to deal with. I always kind of grew up in shape. So
yeah,
it's so impressive to me seeing the people that didn't have the advantage early on. And, and you're in crazy shape now. So it's like, geez.
Yeah, man. It's cool, man. It's cool seeing, I had a client when I worked at the gym. I've had two clients that were very overweight. One of them was close to like 400 pounds. And even her, like, she was like, you know what? I never grew up like in shape. I had bad eating habits very early on. Like my parents never really, and I hate saying like my parents never taught me how to eat, because it's like, they're taking care of you, like they're handling so much more responsibilities. So like, I get it. It's not like a priority, and more so, I feel like it's more so now, like as a culture kind of changes, that it is becoming a priority for us to like watch what our kids eat and all that stuff. I don't have kids, but when I do, I'll make sure that I watch what they eat. But yeah, I feel like sometimes it's just not, I mean, I grew up, all my friends were very skinny and in shape growing up, and it never made me feel bad. Like I love the way that they are, and we were friends at the end of the day, but it's definitely, it's such a different journey depending on where you start as far as like culture and family and all that kind of stuff. So, but hey, at the end of the day, like if you want to make that change, you get up and do it. You know what I mean? Like that's what I would tell people as a personal trainer. I would tell people all the time, like, you want to lose the weight, you got to come in the gym. Like, I'm not going to call you up and I'm not going to drag you up here. Like, you want to come, like, get over here and let's lose this weight. Like, let's do it. You know?
Yeah. Just got to do it. So I'd like to go back a little bit too and hear how you got into videography in the first place.
Yeah, of course, man. Absolutely. So I got into videography in 2016. Let's go back a little further. In 2014, I packed up my car and moved to LA for a year. I was in LA for a year, just pursuing a career with Tivana at the time. I was working in Beverly Hills, like awesome. It was a cool year. It kicked my ass though, for sure. So I moved back in 2015. I was there. I moved back in 2015, and around that time frame, I started working at Lululemon. That's when I started getting more into fitness. And I feel like, as most younger guys do, when they get into fitness, they go on YouTube and they watch people how to work out and all that stuff. So one of the first people that I watched on YouTube was Christian Guzman, which is kind of like hard for anybody to not know who Christian Guzman and Alpha Lee is nowadays. So I started watching his content, then I started watching Max, then I watched Nick Wright. Like, I started watching all these guys, and I'm like, hell, that looks like fun. Like, I want to do that. Like, I want to grab a camera. So 2016, I changed my Instagram to RMH Fitness, which was like my fitness account at the time. I met my buddy Brendan and Andrea, who had a YouTube channel, and granted, their YouTube channel was like fairly large for me. They had like, I think 2,000, 3,000 subscribers. I'm like, oh shit, like that's cool. I want to do that. So I picked up my camera. I had a Canon like T3i or something like that. Like, you can't even like flip the screen. There was like no autofocus. Like, it was just the worst thing ever. I put it on a tripod and I started trying to become my own Christian Guzman. And I ended up selling that camera. I got a new one. And on YouTube, if you go on there, I think I have like maybe 30 videos or 40 videos on YouTube. The first like 10 or like 15 of them were me trying to be a fitness YouTuber. And after a while, I gave up on it. After a while, like, I started working retail and I was working 2 to 3 jobs at a time. So I kind of gave up on it. But something that stood out to me from that process was editing. I was like, you know what? Like, I love editing. Like, I like sitting down and creating something. I was here like on my iMovie and like my shitty little laptop, like putting together my own little videos and like trying to get cool shots because I was so inspired by Guzman and Max Tuning and all these guys. So I would say, if I had to pick like a time, 2016 was when I started getting into videography and editing. Now, keep in mind, as I said earlier, I didn't really do it as a career until the end of 2019. So in that time frame, I was mostly just focused on Instagram, which is how I learned how to, when stories came out and all that stuff, I started to learn how to be more comfortable. But I pretty much started as a YouTuber and then slowly went into, hey, let me create content for other people. Let me sit down in front of the computer and edit. That's my passion, at least.
Dang, that's awesome. Yeah, most people don't have the passion for the editing side.
Yeah, 90%. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you learn how to edit and you contact the YouTuber, I guarantee you'll get a response. Because most of the time, like, these guys love making the content, but they don't love editing. And it's work. Like, at the end of the day, it is. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that every video I've edited I loved. Like, there's times where I'm like dragging and I'm like, I do not want to. I was like, this video is boring. The angles are all wrong. I hate it. Like, this is awful. And then I'll edit it and Scott's like, this is the best video ever. Good job. And I'm like, damn it. I hated that video. But yeah, man, editing's a tough part. Do you edit all your content on Instagram right now?
I do. The podcast, everything. And that's, let me tell you, that is the least favorite out of all of it.
I can imagine, dude.
Man, people, will go through and see, I have like these preview and highlights of podcasts, to promote the episodes. You might think that's a quick thing to get this little 45-second snippet. Well, I'm going through an hour of content to find these little pieces to make that 45 seconds. That's the most time-consuming part out of everything, is finding that, minute clip.
Dude, when I work with Nina, and Nina's one of the only clients Nina's a fitness Instagrammer, by the way. She's like a bodybuilding, a bikini pro who moved from Australia to the US here to be with her husband. And she's really well known, has worked with a lot of brands, but Nina's the only client that I have that I do those YouTube teasers for Instagram. Awful. I hate those so much. And I told her, I'm like, I usually don't do this, but I'll do it for you just because I see you every other week. And I sent her a few and she was like, oh, can you like make them a little funnier? And I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. I was like, I'm going to smash my face on this computer. Yeah, dude, the little 45-second clips, like, oh man, those kill me. That's probably the one thing that I actually don't like editing. That's why, like, in my mind, I'm like, how does, like, GaryVee's team, like,
I mean,
whoever edits those, dude, oh.
There's a reason it's Team GaryVee. It's not one dude, you know, putting all that together. I can't imagine how many guys he has just doing his content.
Oh man,
I think
they must love that.
It's like a lot.
Yeah, they must love it. Like that's the only thing that they love. They're just like, screw it, give me the 45-second clips. I can't, man. I mean, hey, props to that guy though. He crushes the game. I like some of his content. I don't agree with all of it, but I like some.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. He must have found the only 10 people on Earth that like doing those short credits. And now nobody else has them.
100%. Yeah, I would turn the job down, dude. I would. If Gary showed up right now in my living room, I'd be, no, I can't.
Oh, man.
God.
Spending 8 hours a day, like, to find 4 45-second clips for GaryVee. Right.
Those weekly Vs, man. Those weekly Vs were kind of cool, though. I actually enjoyed them. I thought they were kind of cool just to give them a little bit of insight. Because in all honesty, like I've only heard of GaryVee in the last couple months just from working with Adam because so many people refer to him as like the music GaryVee. And I'm like, okay. So like I go and check out his content and it's pretty cool. But like some of the stuff he spews, I'm just like, ugh. Like he'll talk about like, fuck your parents, like do whatever you want. I'm like, you came out from your dad's wine business. Like, what are you talking about? Fuck your parents. Oh, man.
It's funny, man. He's been a kind of a hot topic recently because, you know, people are having the same opinion you and, you know, I do. I know me and shout out to Sean Lowry. We have a lot of back and forth on GaryVee because we kind of, you know, got into, you know, the content game because of GaryVee.
Yeah.
Seeing everything he's doing, we're like, okay, we could do our, you know, spin on it. But lately, man, he's been kind of repetitive and going through like everything is like, oh, you need empathy, be nice to people. It's just this soft, like,
yeah, it's his way to neutralize it, to neutralize everything that's going on. And it's like, it's hard, you know, because like you don't want to necessarily talk shit about the guy who motivates you, but at the same time, it's like you're at this standard. So now, like, if you drop below that, it just doesn't work. You know, it's kind of, I was talking about this earlier with someone talking about leadership. Like, when you're a leader, like, you're always a leader. Like, you fall off, you're screwed. Like, there's no way around it. You know, yeah, so totally. I'm also not a fan of the whole, like, empathy with GaryVee and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, man, the content inspires somebody. You know, it's not me right now, but it inspires somebody.
Yeah, I miss the old in-your-face GaryVee. Yeah. You know, he's calling out kids, telling them they're lazy, they suck. Yeah. Oh, man, that was great.
Because that's tough love. Like, you need that stuff.
Yeah.
You need that shit. I wish somebody would have told me sometime, like, back in the day, like, hey, like, you're fucking up. Like, get your shit together and go. And I would have been like, damn, you're right. Like, I am screwing up.
Yeah.
It's what you need. I mean, totally. Dude, when I jump on these calls with some of the students, it's like they'll jump on and fill out a little bit of a questionnaire, like on what they're doing. And I'm sure you get this stuff too. Like in DMs, like guys will be like, yo, man, I'm working so hard. Like I got content, my music's good. I got this, I got that, but like, I just need marketing, bro. I just need marketing. And then I'll jump onto their Instagram and it's like, they haven't posted in like 2 weeks. There's like a picture of like weed and pizza. And I'm like, what are you trying so hard on? I was like, what? And like, you don't want to be mean because at the end of the day, like maybe that's them trying. But I'm like, you say you're a diehard like fan, but you haven't followed any of the free content on YouTube. And I'm sure that's what Gary feels like. He's like, I give out the sauce on YouTube for free. Right. And then you come and meet me and you have the same questions that I answer on YouTube.
Yeah. And something's crazy that I was just kind of thinking of there, you know, people saying they're doing all this work. And the reality is maybe they are. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing is, if they're not showing that through social media right now, people do not believe them. I mean, where's the proof, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Dude, social media is a resume. I say that every time. Like on every call that I have, my social media is a resume. And the issue is that nowadays, like literally you can go and take a shit on a Zoom call and it'll go viral and you're screwed. like no matter what you do, people can find out anything about you on social media, like anything about you. And it can get scary. Like Scott has a stalker, you know, someone that's been stalking him for years. Like they know where he lives. Like they have they have a trial going on for it. Like people can find out anything about you, and it's like the scariest thing. Like you just never know. And that's why it's important though. Like don't share stuff on social media that you don't want the world to know.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. Like if you're trying to build a business, you probably shouldn't have yourself like doing fucking bong rips on a couch somewhere. If it doesn't fit your business, then don't do it.
Yeah, something lately I've been preaching is showing, you know, the personality and the personal side, but there's a limit to it. I mean, you can go too far.
For sure, man. Something that I think kind of screwed me up back when I was working at Louis Vuitton is what really picked things up for me on those episodes of The Drive on my Instagram was that I would go and just like vent about work. I would go and vent about work, about the kind of like shit that I would go through with clients, not realizing that probably like my boss could look me up on Instagram, and like not realizing that half the store followed me on Instagram and they would see these stories too. So I'm pretty sure that's why I ended up on the shit list at Louis Vuitton when I worked there. But the stories were just too funny not to share. And I'm like, at the time, I was like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. I did my thing here. Like, if I'm gone, I'm gone. Like, it is what it is. But it's true, man. Social media has a lot of power nowadays. And a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people either don't realize it or they don't want to accept it.
Oh, true. So do you get any backlash from anybody at work, or do they just... Was it kind of like a white elephant in the room kind of thing? Where nobody confronted you about it?
Yeah, at Louis Vuitton, nobody confronted me. I would get DMs from like people saying, "Oh my God, like that's the funniest story ever." Like I would get positive interaction on Instagram, but at work, like I don't think anybody mentioned it. And Louis Vuitton was like such a weird place, man. Like some people would be very cool, some people would be very snooty. It was such a big mix of people that you just never knew what you were going to get. Like you could get yelled at by one woman one day because we don't have a bag. And then you could have somebody walk in and drop like 50 grand on like bags and luggage and belts and stuff. It was insane.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Here in Kansas City, I don't even know if we have a Louis Vuitton.
like a little pop-up store.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the Plaza has one. They have some with
like the luxury stores,
pretty luxury stores.
Yeah, man. It's funny how every city has their own like luxury mall because it has like Rolex and Tiffany and Louis Vuitton, and then you have like your average mall that has like Zoomies and Vans, like H&M.
Yeah, the one I go to.
Yeah, dude, I worked at Louis Vuitton and then people expect me to be decked out in it. I honestly just didn't like, I love the history of Louis Vuitton, which is why I got into working there. But even with an employee discount, the stuff was insanely expensive still. Unless I was buying an $1,800 duffel bag, the discount then was massive. But if I was buying a wallet, it was like dollars, like a few dollars. I'm just like, I'm still not going to spend $500 on a wallet. Never mind. Yeah.
That's insane. So you met Scott there. Did you meet anybody else cool in Louis Vuitton?
No. Honestly, retail was Scott. What ended up, if I honestly had to give credit for my career taking off, it'd be him. Just because through Scott, I was able to meet everybody else that I work for. One of the guys that I work for, his name's Align. He has a channel called Muscle Monsters on YouTube. 300 and like so K followers on Instagram and YouTube as well. I filmed for him. I filmed for his brother. I filmed for Nick. Like everybody that I work for has been through Scott. So that kind of took off on the fitness business side of things. For music, I've been able to meet other people through Adam as well, but Scott just has a further reach in the fitness world. So it's been intense. I've met a lot of great people, but only him through fitness, through retail. Because after that, I jumped out. I was like, screw it. I don't have anywhere to be now.
Man, how amazing is it? Like just through one connection, you can get into this circle that then
Yeah.
provides all these different opportunities that you can be involved with just from meeting
Seriously,
one
man.
person.
Yeah, and just keeping up that connection, you know, it blew my mind, man. That's why I'm so grateful for it, because at the end, it's like I said earlier, like I've seen these guys before. Like I would see them, I'd follow them on social media, whatever it was, and the fact that now I'm in a position where I can work with them and create stuff for them, and that's a really cool thing with like content creation. This stuff will live forever. That video, unless that video gets taken down on YouTube, that video is going to be there for years to come, and people are going to be able to see that and get inspired by it and talk about it. So that's why I tell people, if you're going to create content, create something powerful, create something fun, create something awesome, like something that you're so proud of, because that's going to live forever. I'm filming a wedding, or I'm editing a wedding video right now, and you know, in my mind, I wasn't thinking much of it and putting it together until one of my friends was like, you know, that wedding video, we have a tradition in our family where we watch the wedding video on our anniversary. And like, we've done that for almost 10 years. And in my mind, I'm like, damn, like this is a wedding video. Like this is a special moment. Like they're going to watch this. Their kids are going to watch this. Like the family's going to watch this. So when you're creating content, create something powerful. And I feel like that's what I like about editing. It's just knowing that you're creating something that somebody else, that you and I are going to watch and say like, wow, that was awesome. Like I've commented on a few of your things, and I was like, man, that's good. That's so good.
I appreciate that.
I was like, get it.
Yeah, likewise, man. I love the videos you've done with Scott. Those, man, I don't know if I want to start quoting some of those.
Oh yeah,
go check them out. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Man,
I love those.
Me up. It's so funny. Like, you know, I mean, you're fitness guys, and that's like not even related to fitness, but
yeah,
it's awesome though. So it just works.
Yeah. The funny thing is, it's just putting our own spin, because at the end of the day, that video, if you look at that TikTok, it was filmed like on a ranch somewhere. So when I got to Scott's place, he's like, hey, I want to redo this video, but we'll do a fitness spin by me being in the gym and you just running. And the whole point of it was, and I don't know if it came across that way, but the point of it was that he has a home gym and I don't. So I was like running outside. So I'm like, okay, I was like, that's really good. That's really funny. So putting it together was hilarious, man. He's actually the brains behind the whole TikTok thing. Because, man, I jump on there and I laugh at really stupid stuff. And I'm just like, there's no way that I can put this together for myself. Okay.
Yeah, man. Some of those have me dying. It's so funny. So what are your like ultimate goals, you know, for yourself and for your career?
So right now, I'm really hoping to get into some sort of documentary or movie.
Really?
You know, I think that's as a content creator, I don't want to be in the YouTube space. I don't want to be known as a YouTube editor forever. Like I want to do it as a career. I want to do it as a job. Like I would love to film videos for the Christian Guzmans, the Max Junings, all those guys. That'd be cool. Like I still have that as a goal in the back of my mind. But if I'm looking at the overall picture, I'd love to film a movie, a documentary. There's an idea I've been tossing around with my buddy Chino about filming a documentary of content creators. You know, like the guys behind the camera. Like there's the guy, I chat with the video guy for Peter McKinnon. Like I chat with him on Instagram every now and again. And I'm like, listen, like, it's Peter McKinnon. Like he's one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform right now as a video editor, as a content creator. I want to know your story. Like, how'd you get there? Like, how'd you get to editing for Peter? What do you like? What do you know? What don't you like? And just getting all these guys like Matt Como. Matt Como's done a ton of work for other people. So I'm chatting with him like, hey, can I share your story? And maybe choosing like 5 people and just putting a documentary together. Because I think a lot of the times it's like we said earlier, like people ask, how'd you start a podcast? Or how do you do content creation? Blah, blah, blah. So it'd be so cool to grab these guys who do it for a living and share their story. Say, this is Matt Como. Like he was editing for Christian Guzman. He edited for GoPro. Like this is how he got to where he is now, and hopefully inspire people. Because I think a lot of the times people love hearing the story because it inspires them. It creates that like urge, like, oh man, I need to get there. Like I want to be that guy. I want to be the next Matt Como or, you know, Scott Herman or whatever. So that's my big overall goal, to get into movies, to get into documentaries. It'd be so cool to have something on Netflix, you know, and show people like, holy shit, that like I helped make that. And it'd be cool to do it with a group of people, man. Like I never when I see my career, and this might sound kind of strange just saying it out loud, but I don't see my career like by myself. Like I don't see myself as like a solo act. I see myself as a group, you know, always interacting and networking with other creators and always making something awesome together with other people. You know, like I don't expect to ever see just my name alone. Like I want to see us, you know, kind of grow together and build this like really awesome thing. Which is, I think, why I love doing so much YouTube work, because it's always a collaborative event. So yeah, man, that's what I see for myself. What about you? What's your big goal?
Love it. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I definitely want to get, you know, involved in more collaborative things as well. You know, I've done so much solo work. It's like, man, if I could be a part of a team here and do some collaborative work, that would be pretty cool. Before I touch on, you know, my ultimate goals, I am curious what you think, like, so I forget the name of that documentary about like weightlifting. It's really popular now. They've made a couple. Yeah, so they've made a couple versions of that now, right? The new
Generation Iron.
Generation Iron. There we go.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm curious if there would be a space for something like that, but a spin on it for more of like the IG YouTube fitness icons, kind of the new school round of people. You know, that's kind of right up your alley too.
Yeah, man, that's actually interesting. I think the last iteration that they did touched a little bit on like Callum Von Moger, who kind of had his fame through Instagram. But at the end of the day, those Generation Iron films are it's weird. It's almost like they try and talk about fitness in a weird like roundabout way. Like it's almost like weird. It's fitness, but like not really fitness. And it's interesting. I've Chino, the husband of Nina, who I do the video work for, he actually filmed Generation Iron 1 and 2. So he was part of the crew that was filming it. And honestly, man, he told me some horror stories. So I don't know if I'd ever work for them, but I definitely want to do like my own version of that. It's something that I was telling Scott. I'm like, listen, man, you've been around for so long, and for example, I didn't tune into your stuff 10 years ago. So imagine all the cool stuff that I'm missing that you put out back then. How cool would it be to make like a movie, I guess, of what you've done over the years and like the come up and stuff. So it's definitely a conversation that we've had, but nothing yet. And it's difficult just because you're also trying to supplement like YouTube and you're trying to supplement Instagram, and there's so many social media accounts now. So it's like you post on one, you have to post on the other, and like you're well aware of how that routine goes, man. So as a creative, like always trying to create more, that's like one of those things that like keeps kind of dragging you back. You're like, oh, I want to do a movie, but damn, it's going to take like 6 months, and I still have to film a YouTube video, and I have to film this, and then there's travel time. Like it's difficult, you know, and as a content creator, I feel like that's why it's necessary to kind of take that step back sometimes and just kind of turn off. Like I kid you not, like weekends, this thing is in my pocket. I don't talk to it. I rarely go on DMs. I'll do a couple stories here and there just to start some conversation with friends, but I take the step back. But yeah, I do like that idea. I think that's a cool spin on the concept. Yeah,
definitely, man. I could picture it now. But yeah, for me, you know, I have a lot of interests, but kind of in general, I'd love to, you know, work on my own and have my career be a mix of really two things, where I'm creating original content, you know, through podcasts and things like that, but then also building brands for other people, you know, through creative content, marketing, advertising. So I like that, you know, those two sides of things, being able to have things for my own, but then also doing it for other people. So I really, you know, am trying to create a blueprint of how to build a brand through your own original content for myself.
That's awesome.
And then, you know, as people see it, I can do that for them as well. So then, you know, I've kind of laid the groundwork on how to get it done.
Yeah, man. And I'd love to see how you execute that too. Cause one of the things that I feel like I struggle with often is creating content for myself. You know, it's like a content creator, you're so focused on making YouTube videos for everybody else, Instagram posts for everybody else, that like your own content can suffer. So I'd love to see your balance, man, once everything plays out, because mine is not that good. But I also try and do like 3 Instagram accounts at once. Like I have one for the Jeep, I have one for like my knives, I have my own. Like I'm here like stretching myself too thin, but I'm like, it's fine. It'll pay off.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. Yeah. I mean, but for you though, when you do make content for yourself, it's really good. You know, it's just, I'm sure you have so many things going on. It's like, I feel like you probably just need to set aside the time to actually
Yeah.
commit to yourself too, which is
Oh,
tough.
dude. Yep, that's the hard part. I honestly before I met Lexi, I had no balance. Like she kind of brought a little bit of balance into my life, which is why I'm so grateful that I've met her. But when I first met her, she's like, "So, do you ever have days off?" And I'm like, "I have Sunday nights off." Like I don't do it, and that's if like I don't decide to edit. Yeah, yeah. She's like, "Because you're like always working. Like if you're not on editing a video, you're on Instagram. If you're not Instagramming, you're recording something. Like what do you do to relax?" And I'm like, well, like I'm on Instagram. And she's like, that's not relaxing. Like that's not doing anything. I'm like, I can't not do anything. Like it's awful. But yeah, man, I'm interested to see your blueprint and all that stuff. Like that sounds so cool. Again, I'm all for anything that helps people further themselves. Like that's the most fulfilling part I feel like about what we do.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. Yeah. And it's something I didn't really expect at first, honestly. Like, but it's coming to fruition. So that's been cool.
Yeah, man. Gotta love. I don't know. A lot of people view social media through so many different spectrums. Like some people are like, oh no, like it steals your time away from your family, from your kids, or oh no, like you're constantly on it seeking fame and fortune, blah blah blah. But the one spectrum that I think a lot of people don't view it as is like connection. Like you're in Kansas City. How the hell would I ever talk to you if it wasn't through social media?
It wouldn't happen.
Like it just wouldn't happen. And I think that's the one thing, like people view it through such a small, it's almost like to them it doesn't matter. But like to me, that's this part of the picture. Like to me, that's the biggest thing. Like I could literally post nothing and I have a blast just going through like the explore feed and just like, hey, cool content. Like, hey, your stuff looks cool. Like just engaging and interacting with people. Like that's what makes social media so fun for me. Yeah, I tell that to people all the time because they're like, don't you get tired of it? And I'm like, no, like I think it's fun. I think it's really fun just being on there and like chatting with people, seeing what your friends are up to. Like I rarely see my friends because I'm working all the time. So being able to jump on Instagram and send a message when I see them out at the beach, I'm like, oh dude, so jealous, wish I could be there. Like, that's fun. You know, I don't see social media in the negative spectrum as much as I used to, being immersed in it now. But I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And people, you know, call it just social media, but it's real people. You're interacting with real people, and that's, I think, lost sometimes. That
100%.
It's like, oh, you're interacting with just these accounts, but it's 100%. They're not just accounts. They're real people behind these accounts. So,
yep. Dude, I make it a goal to get business accounts to message me back. I do it on my knife account all the time. I'll like message a knife company. And I'm like, I know there's a human there. Like, right. I want you to message me right now. I was like, stop liking my posts and just talk to me. And it worked with one account. Like I know the guy's name. His name is Derek, who works for ProTech Knives over in California. And I'm like, this is what I like. Like I like being able to interact, you know, and I think that's in marketing. Like that's a big thing. You know, a lot of the times people post and it's almost like they post and that's it. They're like, okay, we'll walk away now. Like I did my thing. I'm like, no. That's like going to a store and like putting out an advertisement for it, and they come to the store and it's only like one shirt, and you're just like, okay, like here's my catalog, just one shirt.
No, a big goal for me is getting comments, right? So, man, when I'm posting, that's just a first step, and then I'm always checking back, seeing who's, you know, coming on and interacting with every single person that leaves a comment. So that's only part of the battle.
Yeah, exactly. That's the little details, man. That's the little details that a lot of people miss. And it's like you have to explain that stuff and then it clicks and like, oh, comments are important too. Oh, communicating with people.
Yeah. And this kind of gets me onto a little bit of a hot topic that I'd actually like to dive into. Have you seen the Netflix documentary Social Dilemma?
I have.
So I actually haven't, because just the sight of it irritates me. So, man, these are my impressions of it. That, you know, they're just blaming social media and all the content that's put out there is this big issue. But it's like, the thing that frustrates me is, they're acting like people have no control. You know, you choose where you want to go and what content you want to consume.
Yep.
So I've just avoided it because of that. But I mean, is that the impression you got of, from the documentary?
Oh, easily. And it's funny you say that because I avoided it too. I did for a long time. And it wasn't until Lexi was like, hey, have you seen The Social Dilemma? And I'm like, I haven't. But I was like, let's watch it. Screw it. And to be honest, like, okay, so I'll break it down into my two different thought processes that I had when I watched it. Number one, I thought if we're talking from a cinematic point of view, the documentary was done so well. It was really cool. They integrated a story within the documentary, which I thought was awesome. So they cut back to like little clips of like a movie and then cut back to experts talking about what they do. My biggest thing with the documentary was what you just said. Like, there's control over this stuff. But here's the thing though. You and I get frustrated about it because we're in it. Like, we work with social media. Like, this stuff is obvious, so obvious that they do. They're like, they look up your information. You give your information to other companies for free. Like, social media is free, but not really, because you're giving away your information. And to us, it's logical because we've worked with social media for so many years. But to your average consumer, they're not aware because they're so in the mix of it all. So it's like the reason, and I mentioned this the other day, I'm like, do you not realize that Instagram sends you a notification telling you which accounts you should follow? Mine does it randomly. Like, it'll say, hey, and it does it for my podcast account because I'm not active. So it says, hey, The Drive with Rikki, follow so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. Yep. So you click on it and it brings you back. And then now I'm on my podcast account doing all this research. So is it a cool documentary from a cinematography point of view? Cool. Yes, it is. Is it a very informative documentary? Sure. To those that don't know what social media is it helpful in any way? I mean, hey, maybe it'll spark some thought of like, maybe I shouldn't be on my phone too often. And like, sure, that'll benefit somebody out there. But is it something that's like life-changing? That's like, holy shit, I never knew that existed? Absolutely not.
And that's the funny thing. It isn't to us, but I remember going through Facebook like a little bit after it came out and just seeing family comment on it. And they're like, okay, that's it. I'm not getting on social media again.
Yeah.
It's
but
like,
that's the thing, man. Like with those kind of
forever.
Yeah. The thing is though, what really bothers me about comments like that, man, and I'm actually going to tie it back into fitness. We've all seen that guy on social media that's like, day one, baby, I'm back. I'm about to do it. Back on the journey, back on the grind. And then like 3 months go by and they're like, back in the gym, baby, 20. You know what it is? It's like people say that all the time. They're like, I'm not going to be on social media anymore. Like, this is insane. This is ruining my life. You're still viewing stories. You're still on Twitter. You're on Facebook. Like, it's one of those things where if you really mean it, just do it. Don't verbalize it. And it's so annoying because then and then like you and I talk about it and in my head I'm like, you're such a dick. I'm just like, but it's true though. When I was working at Lululemon, one of my friends, Mikey, told me he took a week off social media. And I was like, man, like he's the best. He's like really like flamboyant gay dude, like super out there. He's like the most just kindest human being, but on social media, he's so vibrant. So when he told me, I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way. And he did. He took a whole week off. And I was like, I'm going to do the same thing. So a couple of years ago, I took a week off social media, like nothing, like no Facebook, no Twitter, Instagram, nothing. And what I took away from it was that I just paid more attention to other things. So while I was in the car, I would pay attention to the road more often because I never looked over at my phone to see if I had a notification. Sure. Was there like a sense of like relief a little bit because like I didn't have a sense of urgency to check my phone? Sure. But was I also working for a company that has nothing to do with social media? Exactly. Like, that's why you have to be picky with what you say because you and I work on social media. Our business comes from this. So do I have to keep my phone on me all the time? I do. I mean, I was in Vegas last year hiking and I had cell reception somehow. And Scott called me to tell me, hey, dude, the video's not on the drive and I need to upload it like now. And I had to drive home to upload that video. But if you think about it, like if I didn't have my phone on me or any source of social media to let me know that, I would have just screwed up his job. Mm-hmm. So like, that's why it's one of those things where people want to make these crazy life changes, but like they don't realize what point of life they're in. So they kind of get very judgmental. And I don't know if you've gone through this, man, but actually just to dive into this little topic, like social media has been an issue for me in dating. Before Lexi, like I've had girlfriends who are like, you're on your phone too much. You don't talk about me on Instagram. You don't post about me. Who are you DMing on Instagram? And I'm like, I'm not DMing anyone. I'd be like, there's more dudes on my social media DMs than women. I promise you. Like,
Right.
it's one of those things where unless you're in it, you don't understand it. And I don't mean it to be a dick, but it's true. Like, everybody's an influencer, but are you like really making money from social media? Can you like really like delete your Instagram right now and be okay? You know, it's like those hard hitting questions. So like I would check back in on those people a week from now and be like, hey, did you really get off Facebook, or were you just not posting on it but scrolling through messages?
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. So it's like you can pick what content you want to look at when you go on there anyway. Yeah. So it's like you're just condemning all of social media as a whole.
Yep.
I mean, it's hilarious. I don't know.
That's the thing, dude. It's funny, man, because like, and again, I don't mean to like put ourselves in a bubble, or like if anybody's listening and you feel, not if anybody's listening, so whoever's listening, not to make you feel closed off, but when you work in social media, you build this like second sense for this stuff. You know, like, you know it, like you're scrolling through social media and in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm a little bit too much on here. Like, let me go edit a video, or like, you know, I don't want to see this, like I'll unfollow. But as an average consumer, like, you're not aware. And it's weird to think about it now because we live it. So like, to us, it's common sense. That's why I wasn't going to watch the documentary either. But I was like, oh, you know what? Let's watch it. Like, screw it. I think Adam saw it too. And like, we were chatting in the studio about it. And we're just like, that documentary sucks. That was a whole hour and a half of my life.
Yeah, man, I've avoided that one.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Just
man. Yeah. Man, it's been a lot of fun. What can people be on the lookout from you, and where can they follow you at?
Man, so as far as following me, my name, Rikki Hernandez, RIKKI HERNANDEZ. On everything, pretty much. I made the change from RMH Fitness to that a couple of years ago. So Rikki Hernandez, my name. You can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, TikTok, like literally everything. But to be honest, I'm most active on Instagram. I try and keep it all in one platform. I rarely do Twitter anymore. I don't do TikTok at all. And then what's coming? Just honestly, a lot more inspiring content, a lot more stuff with purpose, a lot of fun stuff. Like, it's hard to answer that question with like a set thing, because I never have just like an ultimate goal for stuff. Like, it's always kind of just like whatever comes my way. Yeah, like whatever's next. So like, hopefully more collaborations. Like, I love being able to do stuff like this, man. It recharges me. It gives me more energy. It's cool to be able to chat and like not only get to know each other on like a more personal level, but just like understand what we do, you know? Cause like I said, I have my podcast, but I don't really jump on it as much. So like, having the honor to jump on something like this, that's yours, and like seeing what kind of content you create from it and just kind of seeing it evolve, it's going to be awesome. But as far as like what's coming next for me, it's just more content. I'm going to pull a GaryVee. More content is king. Always.
That's true. So everybody go check out Rikki, follow him, and check out that video that we were referring to earlier. Yeah.
Check out, it's in there. It's a funny video. It's like a couple squares in. It's me with like blue shorts running, and I never run. So people were like, the surprising fact about this video is that you're running. They're like, aha. Like, screw you guys. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. Honestly, it was a blast. I love podcasts like this where we can just kind of chill and talk. It's been a fun time.
Awesome, man. Yeah, likewise. It's been great.